Well, hello and welcome to everybody. Welcome to February's IPRA Thought Leadership webinar. Today, I'm delighted we have a powerful team of people, one of whom I'm very familiar with and the other whom is new and we've just met. The one I'm very familiar with is Maria Gagova-Benson. And I'm familiar, of course, because Maria, some of you may know, was an IPRA president a few years ago, has been an IPRA board member for many years, and is an entrepreneur and PR expert running organizations in Bulgaria and Spain and covering the European market rather thoroughly. We're joined today by a colleague of Maria's called Giuseppe Cavallo, who is a brand strategist. He understands brand building and storytelling at the strategic level. And I'm going to hand over now to Maria to talk a little bit more about the shape of today's event. We'll stop at about sort of 20 minutes or so left of the hour for Q&A session. If you have questions to ask, please put them in the Q&A tab, which you'll see to the left of the chat screen, and I will forward those questions. I will field those questions for you at the end of the session. So I'm going to go off screen now and leave you in the hands of Maria.
Thank you so much, Philip. It's such a great pleasure to be back to my favorite professional community, IPRA. And I'm happy also that I'm here with Giuseppe Cavallo, a great partner in crime, that we are working on amazing methodology for building conscious brands, because we are absolute believers that the future requires brands to focus and to become more conscious. So we have had like long discussions about this. I'm very much convinced, and I'm going to share with you a couple of important things why brands needs to be conscious today. The first one is that consumer awareness. It's consumer awareness and expectations. Modern consumers are more aware and concerned about social, environmental, and ethical issues. They expect brands to reflect these values, and making conscious brands, I believe, is a key factor in attracting and retaining customers. The second one is long-term sustainability. Conscious brands aligns with sustainable business practices, which are, I believe, super essential for long-term success. Brands need to prioritize nowadays sustainability and to be better equipped for all the challenges and all the changes that are happening in the markets. The third one is brand loyalty and trust. By demonstrating ethical values and social responsibility, conscious brands can build deeper trust and loyalty, and that's what their consumers expect. And that's how we strengthen the reputation and the consumer relationships. The fourth one is competitive advantage. Conscious brands can differentiate a brand in the crowded market environment that we have. Brands that authentically embody their ethical values, they can stand out, then they can get a competitive edge. The fifth one is the employee engagement and attraction. Companies with strong conscious branding, they're more likely to attract and retain employees who share same values or similar values, and they can have a better engaged teams and a motivated workplace. And the sixth one is risk management. Conscious branding involves being mindful of the brand's impact on society and the environment, which can help mitigate risks related to public relations, legal issues, and changing consumer sentiments. In conclusion, I believe that today's discussion is very important as we live in a very dynamic and challenging environment, and building conscious brand is a key to success. So here I give the floor to Giuseppe, who will walk you through our thinking of why do we need conscious brands, how do we build that, and after that we'll have some time for question and answers. So Giuseppe?
Thank you, Maria. I suppose the slides are already visible. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yes,
it is.
Very, very. Okay, so I would start my presentation with a basic question, which is, do we really need that brands become more conscious, or more properly, we should say more conscientious? because there is a difference between being conscious and being conscientious. Conscious is being aware of something. Conscientious is being able to act upon a moral compass. So the question is not trivial, and we may investigate if we really need this new attitude to branding. If I show my second slide, if I'm able to do so, okay. If we look at entrepreneurs of the kind of the one we have here, Sam Beckman-Fried, then the answer would be, well, we definitely need some conscious brands in our market, because I mean, what this person has done recently and what he is being accused of is certainly something we do not want to accept in our lives, of course. Sam Bankman-Fried, for those who, for those maybe one or two persons in the world who do not know him, is a person who organized an enormous fraud and has been convicted for that. So the answer, the straight answer to this would be, okay, yes, absolutely, we deserve more than this. We deserve that brands help us being, you would say, happier persons. Let's delve a little bit more into the point. The person you see here depicted is portrayed is the new CEO of Unilever. Okay, and the new CEO of Unilever has been in the news recently, not only for ascending to this important position, but also because he announced that there is a change in the strategy of Unilever, and he said we cannot force feed purpose into all of our brands. Okay, so this statement of Schumacher generated a lot of discussion and a lot of conversation on, what is Unilever doing now? Are they changing their strategy? They promised something and they are not delivering on the promise, and so on. For the moment, I would say let's take this with this consideration. Because there is such a big conversation on the fact that Unilever is not force-fitting purpose into some of their brands, it means that this is important, this is interesting, this is relevant for people. A lot of people are looking at Unilever as a case for a more humanistic way of addressing business, of doing business. Okay, so it looks like it is an important matter. But there are more reasons, I would say, why conscientious brands are interesting for us. We live in a time of great pressure. The political life has become very polarized. We are living, unfortunately, in times of war. We were accustomed to living in peace. There were very few wars in the world, and now it's the talk of the day. Continuously, we are faced with the threat of new pandemic, and of course, the economy is a problem for many. Is a preoccupation for many. So we are living under pressure, and there is an academic study that has demonstrated that whenever there is economic preoccupation, and even more when there are some inequalities arising, the need for purpose, particularly purpose, the need for purpose arises in the public. So actually, this is clearly a time when there is a conversation around purpose, and there is a need in the public for brands to act upon purpose, which is very, very close to an idea of being a conscientious brand. Okay, so this is to set the scene, to set the conversation, and particularly what I would like to highlight here is that there is clearly in the market today a quest for meaning, and this is a sentence that we can say to impress, but what does it mean, a quest for meaning? Yeah, we are at IPRA, so the slide on the left must be known to everybody, I believe. There must be no one who doesn't know that slide. This is the Edelman Trust Barometer, which says obviously a lot of things. My attention was caught by this particular slide, which is what we are asking of the CEOs today. And you see that the top topics are like treatment of employees, climate change, discrimination, wealth gap, immigration. 10 years ago, we would be asking these of governments. We would be asking these of the public figures in the administration. We would not be asking directly this. We would be not looking at CEOs to give us answers or a strong position on these points. We are looking at brands today with a different eye. We are looking at brands today, asking them to create meaning, asking them to give us a worldview, asking them to support us in navigating the difficult times or interesting times, as a Buddhist would say, that we are navigating. And on the right side of the slide, you will see that I put the cover of an investigation of meaningful brands. Meaningful brands is an interesting investigation. Not in 2023. This is the last version of their investigation. But in the years before, they were concentrating on what people were asking of the brands, and something interesting arose. Which is quite quite alarming. The point is that if you take the global population, if you take the European population, if you take I live in Spain, the Spanish population in Spain, it's even worse. You see that the majority of people would not suffer too much, would not be bothered if 3/4 of the brand they use would disappear tomorrow. This is an alarming point, because this means that brands are not able, in large part, are not able to establish a profound relationship with their public. And actually, relationship is the fundamental dimension of the game of a brand with their public. So this is very important. And why are they not able to establish that relationship? Well, maybe because we look at our public as a means for generating profit, or maybe because our public is asking us things like the ones on the left side, and we are not aware that those are the important things for our public, and we are only looking at our belly button, and maybe we are so concentrated on saying that our product is a little bit better, wash is a little bit cleaner than the competition, and we don't really establish a conversation, which is a two-way action. It is listening and answering, listening and proposing. So this is the situation that we are living today with our brands. Now, some brands know how to do that. Some brands know how to respond to the new necessities, to the new demands of the public. And actually, if this person here is your CEO, then you're having a good day. You're having good karma. I think everybody knows Yvon Chouinard. Yvon Chouinard is the founder of Patagonia, and he is famous for having taken a very unique position lately. He gave all his shares of Patagonia to a foundation, and famously he said, well, now our planet Earth, is the major stakeholder of Patagonia, which is a fantastic definition. So some brands know how to do that. Luckily, it's not only Patagonia. I'm putting here two more examples. You see on the left the famous, the hyper famous advertising from Patagonia, which is done by this jacket, which is a way to say, well, demand more from your brands, demand that they take a very strong position and that they operate accordingly. So that's a very bold statement. In Spain, we have a similar proposition from a company, from a brand which is growing very, very fast and making a strong statement in the nation. And this is EcoAlf. Their claim, as you can see here, is because there is no planet B. And you see in the image how they do their clothes. They only use tissues that are made of plastics. Okay, they come from bottles, or they come also, they made a special campaign, they come from fishing nets that are going to be disposed of. And then I put another brand which is on the bottom side of the slide, which is Oatly. I think many must know this brand. It's vegetable milk, and the reason why I put Oatly here is because I have a story with this brand. I was attending a brand conference, and the chief strategist of Oatly, his name is Michael Lee. He was at the conference, and he said something that really caught my attention. You know, I repeat, he is the chief strategy officer, and he said something interesting. He said, "Well, actually, at Oatly, we do not have a strategy." Wow. I said, this is really interesting. What is that you have if you do not have a strategy? And well, actually, as a brand strategist, you know, I felt myself called into the conversation. After his presentation, I went to meet him, and I wanted to understand a little bit more. And actually, I think that I understood what he meant when he said we don't have a strategy. He said we have a voice. Okay, and what is the voice? My way of translating that voice is center of gravity. What is a center of gravity? Center of gravity, in my way of looking at it, is a set of values, a world vision, a way of feeling, fundamentally a way of being of the brand that guides the brand towards something, and obviously, most importantly, informs the brand, lets the brand take the right decisions when decisions are difficult. Yeah? Because this is an important point. Today, we live in a complex world where not always taking a decision is an easy task. Things are not always black and white. And the demands, the growing demands from the public and the changing demands from the public sometimes can provoke us to take positions that are not really authentic or are not really, you know, who we are. So having a strong center of gravity is a sort of a tool that we can look at when we have to take decisions that are not obvious. Okay, so now the point for me as a brand strategist, the question is, okay, how do I create a center of gravity, and how can I make this an operational tool? And this is what I want to present to you now. It's something that I created, and I use it in my consultancy activity, and we use it with Maria as well. it's a way of looking at how you can create this center of gravity. Let me show it to you directly, if I am able to do that. Okay. So we will build it together. Let's grow this graph together, this compass together. I call it the compass, right? Conscious brand compass. My basic idea is a company, an organization, a brand, obviously is in the market and needs to do things. But obviously, a company needs also to do these things according to who they are, who this organization is. So there is a sort of an alignment which is necessary between the being and the doing of the organization. Okay. What does it mean? It means that an organization has to generate meaning and has to, like every person, like everyone in this meeting, in this conversation, we have to mean something. We have to be something that people can relate to because we are understood and we are understandable. And at the same time, we need to be able to establish a connection with our public. As I said before, the fundamental dimension of a brand is its ability to establish a profound conversation and a profound relationship with its public. Okay, so this is the vertical axis of being. But then we also need to be strong in the activity, because obviously we have not to forget that a conscientious brand is also a sustainable brand. Sustainable means not only the ability to leave a positive impact on people and on the planet, but also the ability to be sustainable as a business over time. So a brand has to be sure that it ensures that the company is successful on an economical base. So a conscientious brand is obviously looking at its unique relevance, which will ensure success. But on the other side, is also conscious that you don't live alone in the market. You have stakeholders, so you have to create value not only for your companies, but you have to create value also for your stakeholders. Famously, Michael Porter, who is one of the fathers of the theory of strategy for business, famously at the end of at the beginning of the 2000s, he published a famous paper which is creating value creating shared value. Sorry. Okay. So this is something that is very important to do. What are the tools that we can use to create this virtuous situation? Okay. So in terms of meaning, I've put there the word purpose for simplicity, but actually we have to establish for the company a moral compass. Okay. A moral compass is made of the values that guide us, the purpose that gives us the reason, the raison d'être, as we say often, but it also gives us some principles that guide us into operation. So all this construct of moral understanding of who we are and what guides us, this is important to have. This is on one side. But then on the other side, the point is, in our relationship with the market, we have to find a way to be authentic, to be true to ourselves, because this will be a fundamental driver, not only in taking decisions, but also in being understood by the market, and so being successful in the market. So this is something which is very important on the axis of who we are. But then in terms of being successfully operating in the market, become successful from an economical point of view, we have to establish a very deep, I underline that, relationship with stakeholders, and we have to know clearly what are the factors that determine our success, and we have to work on those facts. We don't have to forget that it's not being about conscientiousness, being ethical, does not neglect the fact that we have to be successful economically. So this is my fundamental proposal for how to establish the basics for a conscious brand. And the next thing I'd like to do is to show to you that this is not theoretical. This is not simply, let's say, a template to guide fundamental decisions and organize the organization, but it is also a tool to understand where the company is strong and where the company is maybe weaker and needs to improve. Let me change slide. Okay. I've made here two different cases. Okay, you see the red line. The red line is a typical company which is very virtuous, if you want to say so, but then not so strong on the market, because obviously you can imagine this company, maybe a company that is strong on the let's say moral construct. They are very authentic, they are true to themselves, they care a lot about stakeholders, they know everything about their stakeholders, but then they are not very oriented at creating, at selling. Yeah, let's use this word. They are not strong at selling, they are not strong at being commercially successful. Well, actually, this company really has a problem, because although there is a very strong moral consistency, well, actually, we really need to address the ability to make money, the ability to be successful in the market. On the other side, we have this bluish line. It's possibly the opposite. This is, for instance, a company that when they consider purpose, for instance, they consider that as a marketing tool, where marketing is used in a negative sense. And authenticity obviously is not an option for them. They're very strong with the stakeholders because they understand that their value chain is important. So they can be very, very strong in stakeholder relationship. But you can imagine that their strong relationship with stakeholders, maybe you can imagine here it's a very transactional kind of relationship, very I will use you kind of relationship. And obviously they will be strong on selling. This company also has a big problem, because the big problem comes from everything we have been discussing so far. The public, the society, the people are asking different things of these companies. They are asking of this company that it becomes more relevant from a moral point of view and more authentic. So this company really needs to find what is its moral compass and how to establish a more authentic kind of relationship with the public. Okay, so far this is basically what I wanted to share in terms of why conscious brands are interesting and how you can build a conscious brand. And I also wanted to make a last point, which is we can build conscious brands, obviously, because we think it is ethically important, or because it is desirable. But there is also an economic, a business case for creating conscientious brands. The fact is that if you create a conscientious brand, easily you can become an icon brand. And I've made here a very quick sort of explanation of the situation. I've put on the left side a pyramid of needs, which is a classical way of looking at needs of the customer needs. Functional needs, I need a problem to be resolved. Emotional needs is how I want to feel. And identity needs, this is the world of values, this is the world of worldview, and so on. So these are the needs that the public is presenting the companies nowadays. Companies have to respond to these needs. We have to give good benefits, unique benefits. We have to create memorable experiences and meaningful experiences. And obviously, as we've been saying all along here, you need to offer a worldview, which is authentic, which is powerful. Now, if you are offering a worldview, not only you are engaging with your public, but you are inspiring your public. Okay, and if you inspire your public, automatically you can become an icon. An example is an easy example, although overused, is the example of Patagonia. If I came here to this conversation with, let's say, a T-shirt with a big Patagonia logo on my chest, obviously you would be thinking that taking care of the environment, taking care of the planet is something which I consider important and prioritary. So, but the reason why this would happen is not because I would be advertising Patagonia. I don't know Yvon Chouinard, and although I admire him so much, but we don't have a personal relationship. It is because I would be expressing my own identity. I would be talking about me through Patagonia. So this is the fundamental dynamic there. Okay. The result of this, I want to take it to the business side. The result of this, if you have a conscientious brand that becomes an icon, some benefits, some nice benefits are awaiting you. First one is the fact that your brand will become more credible. You will be able to create meaning for the people who want to use your brand to express their own selves, as I was saying in the case of Patagonia before. The connection with your public will be deep, will be meaningful, will be profound. And this has two very, very nice results for a company. And this, I'm talking about economical, financial results for the company. First, you will increase the loyalty of your public, of your customers. And obviously, we all know that gaining a new customer is always more expensive and more difficult than retaining one. So loyalty is something that we are pursuing constantly. And then you have another thing. People will be talking about you. Your net promoter score will go up. And this is free advertising for those who care about this. So these are only some of the benefits that you can enjoy when you create this kind of authentic orientation to values, authentic orientation to your purpose, and authentic orientation to being a conscientious brand. For those who are interested, and I'm closing my brief presentation with this, for those who are interested, we have created, with Maria, we have created a questionnaire. You can use this QR code to go to the questionnaire. Your answers will come to us. We will analyze the answers, and we promise that according to the time available, maybe you will have to be a little bit patient, but we will send you the result in terms of this kind of graph for your brand. So please feel free to send it to us. We will be happy to go back to you. Up to you, Maria. Back to you.
Thank you so much, Giuseppe. I just, before we give the floor for questions, I will ask a couple of questions since we were preparing this webinar together, and there were like a couple of topics that kind of triggered my curiosity. And I think that it will be very useful for the audience to understand more about that. The first one is some brands, they kind of believe that they live in a vacuum, and brands, they are part of a system that every small thing, if you move one thing in one way, there will be a big impact in another way. So it's a system, everything is connected, and we have to be very, very like conscious how we move different parts of the system. Later on, we can maybe explore one or two other examples that happened recently to visualize and to understand better what is the conscious brands and how conscious brands behave, or not so conscious brands, and what is the impact of that. But can you elaborate about a little bit about the system, how a brand is a system and how everything works.
Yes, yes, Maria. Actually, I think this is like something that we can associate with a metaphorical idea, which comes from biology. When we think about systems, if you think of maybe a molecule or a cell or whatever organism, you always see that this organism has two fundamental levels of activity. One is continuously pursuing internal equilibrium. Okay, this is called in biology. This is called homeostasis. An organism has to stay alive, so it's always finding a way to organize itself in a way that there is vital equilibrium. But then there is another dynamic, which is an organism lives within other organisms, and this makes it a system, obviously. So what happens? It happens that the organism is sending inputs to the context, and the context is sending inputs to the organisms. Sometimes these inputs can be favorable, sometimes can be hostile. So the organism needs to be constantly reorganizing itself in order to respond to the inputs and to contribute to the system, so that the dynamic is a positive one. And this is called, in biology, this is called autopoiesis. Now, this double dynamic of homeostasis on one side, which is vital equilibrium, and autopoiesis, which is adaptation to the context, is something that I feel that sort of depicts a little bit what an organization needs to do today. The homeostasis is we need to find that center of gravity that will help us be alive and be alive and kicking, as the song says. To stay alive and to be prosperous to function well within the organization. But then we also have to be able to within that center of gravity, we need to navigate in a context which is fast changing and always more changing. A few years ago, we were talking about VUCA times. Then with Nassim Taleb, we started to talk about black swans. Well, actually, I think today we have black swan is something which by nature should happen every long time, once in a long time. But actually, we are having black swans every day, as one would say. So this ability to remain true to itself, to oneself, and respond constructively to the context is something that we have to be nurturing, to be pursuing.
Thank you so much for this, Giuseppe. And we have two more minutes before we give the floor to the audience. And I will have one more question, because sometimes it's a little bit abstract when you're talking theoretically about this, and to get a little bit more clarity on how this impacts the business of a brand. I would like to look a little bit closer to two recent cases, last year's cases that happened. And one is the Bud Light case, and that obviously they lost a lot of value and a lot of money just with one action within this system of the brand system, and how this impacted the brand. And also the case of Unilever, I think you touched it a little bit, but maybe you can touch the Bud Light and explain what happened and why.
Yeah, the Unilever, if we have a minute, I'd love to talk about it. Bud Light, I think the most interesting thing about the Bud Light, I think everybody in the audience, for the nature of the audience, everybody knows everything about this case. At some point, Bud Light, there was a case, which is a person who was transgender, made, let's say, a video, and in this video, it was talking about Bud Light. This touched the sensibility of a number of persons, and Bud Light was accused of, being out of its place. Yeah. So the point there is, I would call it fundamentally a point of legitimacy. Bud Light is a brand that has always lived on an idea of masculinity and talking particularly at a certain kind of audience. It is true that lately they had done some incursions in the LGBT plus area, but my feeling is that they were not in their place there, and they were actually running the risk of being accused of not being authentic, of not being sincere, and being opportunistic. And this is actually what has happened. So a problem there is the problem that Bud Light is facing there is fundamentally a problem of legitimacy. They are not legitimated to be assertive in a world which is not theirs. It's not what they have been proposing so far. And Maria, if you allow me a couple of minutes, I can say a few things on Unilever, because I find it interesting. There has been a lot of conversation on the fact that Schumacher, the new CEO, he literally said, well, we cannot force feed purpose in all our brands. Okay. And many have sort of accused Unilever of abandoning the purpose philosophy or their strategy, the long-term strategy, which I don't think it's the case. I think that Mr. Schumacher is fundamentally making a point of authenticity there. And he is saying, look, we don't abandon our strategy of sustainability and being driven by a purpose, but we are conscious of the fact that we understand the fact that we have a great many brands in our under our umbrella, under the Unilever umbrella. Some of these brands clearly are fit for a discourse which is ethical, which is driven by a ethos. Some other brands, we would be not authentic in putting purpose in front of the discourse of this brand. Imagine Axe, the brand Axe. Can we really use the brand Axe as a purposeful brand? Well, that's for discussion, and this is what Mr. Schumacher is doing. So there's a point of authenticity there, which honestly, personally, I sort of salute with positively.
Thank you so much. And now, Philip, back to you.
Maria, thank you. And Giuseppe, thank you also for that excellent presentation and your rather intriguing graphics, which I think try to capture some very complex ideas and put them in a simpler way. I have you mentioned earlier the Edelman report, and I thought, and how unusual it was that the things expected of CEOs were rather different now than they had been. You mentioned things like employees' welfare, climate change, immigration. Do you think that the CEOs of today's major branded companies are able to meet those expectations at the moment, or are they struggling?
Well, I think we have to look at the situation from a couple of points of view. The first one is, should they do that? The point is, should they do that? And here there is again a point of understanding what does the brand mean. Why are they in the market? And most of the times you find yourself in a position where actually the CEO should not directly respond those demands, but it is not neglecting the fact that there is that need. It's about meaning something particularly, focusing the brand. Let me make an example to be clearer. Take Patagonia and Ben & Jerry's, for instance. Okay, Patagonia is mostly about sustainability, and their motto is we are in business to save our home planet. Okay, whereas Ben & Jerry's is very, very strongly about social justice. Okay, you know, Patagonia responding very, very strongly on a social justice point would be somehow a little bit awkward, maybe from Patagonia, because they are so combative. You would pardon it, you would understand it, but it would be a little bit awkward. As well as if Ben & Jerry's makes very, very strong statements on the sustainability side, you would say, well, but you've been talking to me about other things so far. How come you change your discourse? So the point is, we have to acknowledge, we have to be conscious of the fact that there are demands on our from the public, but we have to, from our center of gravity, respond with our point of view, from our standpoint. This is what makes it legitimate for us to talk, to communicate, and also it makes it credible, which is fundamental in CEO's communication, of course.
Lovely, thank you for that. So we have a question from Svetlana Stavreva, who is another former president of IPRA. Svetlana congratulates you on the topic of the webinar and poses the following question. What are the early red flags that a brand is gearing in the wrong direction and becoming less conscientious?
Oh, well, it's when you take, I would say, when you take decisions that conflict with one another. And let me give you an example that just springs to my mind. Not many years ago, there was a brand, well, an American brand, Gap, the Gap brand. They had a sort of a problem with the public because they wanted to change their logo, and you know, they tried to change their logo, but there was like an upheaval from the public. Their fans started a sort of how to say in English, a revolt on the internet, telling them that they were not allowed to change their logo, and actually they had to maintain their logo. Now, what does this tell me? It tells me that Gap was not really totally profoundly conscious of the fact that they have a very, very strong relationship with the public. That the public is, they are important for the public. And if they want to make changes as big as to change your visual identity, they have to be conscious and conscientiously act on the fact that they are changing the logo of a lot of people, a logo that a lot of people use as an identity trigger.
Okay, thank you for that. I have a question which derives from a slightly personal perspective. In my former role, I used to be a lobbyist for the European Brands Association in Brussels. And so I'm very familiar with some of these discussions about benefits of brands and the way that consumers think about them and reputation. Now, since no longer doing that job, I'm absorbing a lot of my news, like many people, through social media. And if I look at comments there, often about brands that people like, very often the thing that is affecting people these days, in particular, is price rises, because price rises seem to be more significant now than they had been perhaps over a number of years, and that's a lot to do with resource changing and energy costs and that sort of thing. So I wonder how much of a threat do you think pricing and cost is to the emotional bonds you've been talking about? And is it something that can ultimately break that bond?
Yeah, of course. Actually, Philip, this is a very interesting question. Right now, in these days, I'm working with a brand who is really confronting this kind of situation. They find themselves, for a number of reasons, they find themselves in a completely new average price point, and they sort of asking, well, how do we manage this? How do we keep our relationship with our clients, with our public, and in this new situation? The way we are looking at it is the emotional bond. We are nurturing exactly what you were pointing out. We are nurturing the emotional bond with their public. So obviously, you need to continue demonstrating that the price is reflecting a benefit that you are offering. So you need to justify that, and this is on a very, very rational level. But this is not enough. You have to demonstrate to your public that you understand that there is a change in the relationship, that you understand there is a change in the pocket of the client, of the customers, and that you go with them along this journey. Obviously, companies cannot. Sometimes they don't have the luxury to not make price rise, because obviously the costs are growing. But the point is, empathically understand that on the other side there is someone who's suffering from the raise of the prices, and you have to show understanding for that, and you have to sort of go along with them, go together with them. So it's more on how do we go this journey together, on this journey together.
Understood. So that completes our list of questions, and therefore that completes our event for today. That leaves me just to thank Maria and Giuseppe very much for your presentation. I think you've opened up some very interesting thoughts and questions. As usual, we have been recording this webinar, and that will be up on the IPRA website next week, and we'll be there for about a year or so if you wish to download it. That would also be an opportunity where you can find again a copy of this QI code, so that you can participate in the survey. Next month we have also a sort of panel session style of event on the 14th of March, and this is looking at the environmental and climate change cases that won awards in the IPRA Golden World Awards competition last year. So until then, Maria, Giuseppe, and all of you listening, thank you very much, and we will see you then. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.